Before we start the show, let me thank you for clicking onto this video. If you'd like to see more videos like these, why not subscribe and hit the bell button so you'll never miss an episode. Now, on with the show.
One mark will be vehicle 6.
Comprised of warrior women.
Hi friends, I'm LJ Jarvis, and welcome back to This Jarvis Show.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to On Air with Jarvis, the podcast of all things Warhammer and general stuff I find of interest. Joining us today is someone I've been wanting to bring onto the show for some time. You viewer know his works on the channel and for his own original videos. So let's give a warm welcome to Ram Muerto. How's it going, sir?
Hello, doing great. Hello, everybody. So, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for coming onto the show, good sir. I did mean it, saying I wanted to bring you onto the podcast for some time, ever since season 1, because you are such a talented artist when it comes to animation and considering all the work that you've done for his channel, I had to bring you onto this show. You were on the top of the list.
Yeah, wow, I'm so honored. And again, thank you. I've always wanted to come to podcasts like this. This is actually my first time, so please bear with me, everyone. Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of stuff for Jarvis for some time now, and I have to say, animating Warhammer stuff, it's been a blast. I really enjoy it, alongside the other stuff that I animate, horror stuff, and as of the moment, I'm stepping away from horror for a bit. So I'm doing it's a bit of a contrast from my usual stuff. More of a cutesy, light-hearted animations. I do still like to animate my horror content, but right now I guess it's high time that I branch out a bit. I'm also considering doing more stuff for Warhammer if I get the schedule for it.
Yeah, definitely. And I can totally understand wanting to try out something different with, the art that you do and all that. Because even though we might like doing a certain thing, sometimes it is good to flex our creativity from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's how people evolve in art. It's it can definitely go for YouTube channels too, because a person who started off his channel, I don't know, doing video game Let's Plays, probably will be doing podcasts in the next 3 years or something entirely different, maybe.
Yeah, you have to adapt to survive, especially in this platform.
Yeah, and I think it's a thing too where Let's Plays are almost like a dying industry on itself in the YouTube world.
Yeah, I think Let's Plays, it kind of evolved into streaming, but streaming doesn't necessarily involve just playthroughs. Let's Plays, it's a lot more of variety stuff. But Let's Plays kind of transitioned into streaming these days.
That is correct, yeah. And I think the only kind of Let's Plays people would usually watch are either you're really obnoxious and loud, or you're a
Yeah.
or with the joke on Twitch, it's a streamer girl. If you see what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. E-girls.
It's
It's all the rage right now.
it's and guys, thank you for watching. And also, I started an OnlyFans, so come and see my exclusive content.
Yes, oh my god. Yeah, so I mentioned that I've been doing cutesy, lighthearted stuff, right? Specifically, it's I'm in quote unquote the VTuber hole. I fell into it.
Oh, I'm into VTubers too. I follow YouTubers on Twitter. I'm not going to keep that a secret but they're not obnoxious, Twitch thoughts. That's the difference.
Yeah. yeah, unfortunately, there's also a few. Actually, it's been the VTuber scene has been being plagued for some time now with a lot of those types of streamers. Which well, there's an audience for that, but not me. But I come across a lot of VTubers like that because I get recommendations, I get suggestions from Twitch, from YouTube, but I usually stuck to my wholesome, the term say so, say so content. If you're familiar with that term,
And now I just realized that the difference between like a VTuber, doing jokes about being difference between like VTubers and Twitch thoughts is that I think the VTuber, she basically almost, maybe not always, she does like the same jokes and all that, but she's animation and therefore it's cute and funny. But
Mhm.
but if a real life person does it, it's like obnoxious and Twitch thought.
That's the thing about the VTubing. It's this yeah, it's like a filter, but it kind of progressed with just being a filter.
Yes.
It's an anime character that you give life to it, right?
Hmm.
But still, if you look past that, there's not much different between live YouTubers or streamers and
Yeah.
YouTubers.
Yeah,
But
that's right. That's right.
it is it's good to see some VTubers who are actually into their character,
Hmm.
who like they're not your typical streamers. So they have their own personality, and they let their personality play through the character that they're portraying on the screen. They like they go with the theme. I've seen some VTubers like that,
So
especially some ASMR based VTubers.
so almost like they're role playing their characters. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a term. Yeah, role playing, as opposed to well, my I have a gripe against VTubers who just use oh, well the I'm sorry, wait, I got lost. Yeah, I have a gripe with the VTubers who just keep over sexualizing themselves. Or I mean, there's an audience for that. It's what sells, and a lot of people are into that, I guess. But again, me, I'm just I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I've seen VTubers go about their content who can't even make a single who can't be funny without making a dirty joke every minute.
Hmm.
That just that just turned me off, man.
Yeah, it's like I can't say that, oh, they're so obnoxious, if I were to say, because I follow those kind of content creators because it's like, oh, this is hot art, like because if someone were to look at my likes in my Twitter, it's like Lewis likes a lot of porn, and I
Yeah, don't
admit
we
it, I
all?
admit it, I admit it. Come on,
Don't we all? Yeah.
why are you booing me? I'm right. But all that aside, I gotta ask you, Ram. Before you did animations, though, what did you do before getting to the field?
So before animations, is this career wise or in YouTube? Because
Either
mm,
or, either or.
yeah, so just a bit of a background in my career. I was formerly a programmer,
Okay.
and then years later, after years of stress and mental issues, it really broke me down. So I decided maybe it's time to cut my losses because I'm sacrificing my mental health here. It's I realized it's time to cut my losses and try to transition to something that I've always been into, which is graphics. visual
Mhm.
graphics, visual arts. Even in college, while I was studying, my major is in information technology. But all the while, I was also making graphics for a lot of stuff, but only on the side.
Mhm.
So after graduating, I went for programming work, and then it was just a slog. It was looking back, like it was the most saddest days of my life. Apart from having some friends around me. So after some time, I realized, that, yeah, I should try transitioning. So I went. It was a really late decision. I was like 5 years into my programming career, but I said, "What the heck? It's never too late." So I transitioned into graphics, and then after that, um, I didn't immediately go into animation because I was scared of animation. I had this thought that nah, this thing isn't for me. This thing is like if I gave up on programming, uh, what would I do in animation? Which is whenever I looked at it back then, it looked like a lot of work, like a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and I was just scared of it. But deep down, knew I wanted to do it too. So first, when I transitioned to the graphics, it was mainly no animation, just static, your usual illustrations, posters, banners.
Mhm.
And then a few years later, this is what's funny. A few years later, in my office, we were tackling about other stuff, other projects, and then my manager brought up some video game trailers that the other employees, past employees, made for the company, and then they assigned it to me, and then I said, I can't do motion graphics. And they were like, really? We thought you could. It just seemed like you could. And then I thought, I was thinking then, yeah, I think I can. But it suddenly hit me, like, why have I never gotten into motion graphics before in any of my work? And that was the point. I forgot about how I felt with animation after a long time. It hit me that, oh yeah, I was scared of it back then. And then slowly I realized I was just lazy. I was freaking lazy. Yeah, and then I said, yeah, it is still scary. It is a lot of work, but who knows? So maybe it can grow in. I can grow into it. Why not give it a shot? I mean, I transitioned into a different career, so why not do this?
Yeah,
How can
that's
this
the
be,
thing
right?
where yeah, that's the thing where it's like I think also being scared to do something can also encourage being lazy. At least for me, what I come to realize, it's like I don't think I actually need to study. I think I studied enough, but it's like you haven't picked up a cue card in a few weeks, Lewis. You're not scared at this point. You're just making excuses to be lazy. You have to eventually just do it.
Yeah, yeah. So when I finally had the guts to do it, I incorporated into my work. I accepted the video editing stuff, motion graphic stuff, and then around that time, I was into horror narrations.
Mhm.
That was my first inspiration to do animation because I saw YouTubers creating animations for those narrations. And then I said I wanted to do that. That looks so cool. And then that's where it all started.
And I was starting to excite when you offered me an intro for the first time. I was like, "Yeah, I'm part of the big leagues now, guys. I'm part of the big
And
leagues
then,
now. I get an intro."
yeah, that's also another thing that really inspires me. Like whenever when you guys get excited, when you see the animations that you commission with me, and then the reactions, and then I'm just happy to help. Yeah, I like to. give some like it's a commission. I get paid, but that satisfaction when you get to help another YouTuber with his stuff, especially when it helps with the image of the channel. It's a just a satisfying feeling.
Yeah, and you really do have a wide variety. You really do have just great talent because you're able to diverse into multiple different channels with like different presentations and personas. It's like one channel it's like for creepypasta, but then for a channel like me, it's like I do Warhammer and podcasting, and you're able to do one where it's like pure 40K, but then next one where it has like a 1920s aesthetic.
Yeah, my work, my day job, that really influenced my adaptability with the types of content because I work in marketing ads, the annoying banner ads and GIF banners you see all over the internet
It
on
was
every.
you.
Yes, it was me.
You're trying to get me to get Ray Shadow Legends. I am not playing a mobile game.
God, I hope I get that Raid Shadow Legends project. I haven't.
Which brings
But
up the sponsor of this video, Raid Shadow Legends, the online mobile game with over 500 free champions to choose from.
oh my God, you have a script ready.
Click the link below and use codename Jarvis to get your free champion and 1,000 gold. All links in description.
You've been waiting for this moment, have you?
Nah, I'm bullshitting. Of course, that's.
You've been waiting for that sweet sponsorship. One day, man, one day you're gonna get it.
I did this on previous podcasts, but I just had to repeat it again because if I see a slow ball, I'm going to swing. And that's the rule of baseball.
So yeah, well.
And now I'm probably going to get a lawsuit.
They're gonna sponsor you first. So yeah, I have my work. It included a lot of diverse stuff, but the majority is games. Unfortunately, no Raid Shadow Legends yet, not yet. But the majority is mobile games. But there's also a lot of various stuff like tech, hobbies, lifestyle, health, like that. Ads for those brands. So I get a mix of that. It's really sometimes it's brain numbing. Sometimes it puts your brain into knots because you have to think of concepts and designs for different kind of stuff every day. So yesterday it was game. Today it's gonna be for health stuff. Tomorrow it's gonna be for some Scientology bullshit. So,
What? Scientology? Yeah?
well, not really, but I have received projects for religious stuff at churches, private
Okay.
churches like that.
Okay.
It's a wide variety. It's like again, it's mind numbing, but it also trains your brain to be adaptable and flexible with the
Mhm.
types of stuff you can come up. So yeah, that was a big help for me when I used that with making commission stuff with stuff for YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and of course, and I'm also curious about this actually. So, of course, you got to do some, 40K stuff in relation to me for, the intros, the subscribe button bit, and very recently the outro for the videos. Though I am curious, what was your experience of Warhammer before, meeting me and getting to do this kind of stuff?
I honestly can't remember, but I think I'm sorry. I don't remember if I knew you from researching Warhammer stuff or I knew you from the horror community when I was going around the horror community. But you were also one of the first people I came across with the Warhammer content.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that I remember. I think yeah, probably YouTube suggested it to me. But before I mean, YouTube suggested the Warhammer podcasts like you back in the day. But before that, my initial experience with Warhammer, sorry, man, I honestly can't remember. I'm trying to remember now. Where did it start? All I thought was I also got sucked into the Warhammer hole, just like the VTuber hole. So
Yeah,
I'm in now.
the Warhammer hole is like a little child being thrown into the deep end and expecting him to swim because it really does go that deep.
Yeah. But then you realize it's okay to not breathe.
If you don't try to swim, you can still float.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think my experience, like, or come across you for the first time was through the, creepypasta community and through Spookaria. And it's like when I saw her intros and I saw your like an, credit linked to your channel, it's like it got me into giving a quick search into your own videos. And then you DMing me saying, "Hey, Lewis, we like a intro for your channel." And I was like, "Oh yeah, hold on for a minute." Hey everybody, I'm top shit now. I am getting an intro. I made it to the top.
I'm one of the big boys.
I'm in the big leagues now. Nice voice crack.
Yeah. I remember now. Yeah, through Lady Spukaria. Yeah, I haven't talked to her in a while too. But yeah, that's where. Yeah, around that time, I think it was around the horror con, was it, or before that?
I wouldn't know, sorry.
Yeah, I don't really I just don't understand why it's all a haze in my head. Whenever I think about when I started with Warhammer and when I started hanging out with you guys, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Just weird. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, right now, I haven't continued reading my books, my Warhammer stuff, but I am looking into if there's somewhere you can point me at, like in-depth detailed stuff about uh Warhammer gear, like all the weapons, the mechanical stuff that they use in the lore, like as in if there is a source for in-depth or not accurate but like blueprints of the mechanics they use, their weapons, their mechs, their vehicles, stuff like that. That's what I want to get into.
Now, I don't think there's like some kind of giant, lore book where it is just all technology. I'm pretty sure there is, but I wouldn't know. But you can find something like, individual gears, weaponry for like Space Marines, Mechanicus. You can find that through like typical lore videos, of course, but also through Google searches, you can see stuff like blueprints, like for their Titans, tanks, and all that.
Mhm. I've seen a few, but I'm not sure if they're official or they're fan made.
I
Like
I think it has been confirmed that a lot of Warhammer art is done by Games Workshop through the years when it comes to their books, because they are like very detailed and Tolkien-esque when it comes to how the world of 40K works, because they don't go like one page about this one gun. It's like it's almost like half a book of how certain gears work and the history of that said gear, like who made it and what changes it went through the years,
so you could say Warhammer is hard sci-fi.
It very is hard sci-fi, yeah.
Okay.
But it's not impossible. It's like it just takes like slow and steady, piece by piece, one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are like novels in which, yeah, there it does like go into like history of say the Space Marines, like who actually made the Space Marines besides, oh, the Emperor made his Space Marine legions. It's like, in books like Constantine, it tells you that the very original scientist that helped create the Space Marines, and her name was Armar Astarte. And because he invented the Space Marines, they named the Space Marine legions after her, the Astarte legions.
And recently, I'm not sure if it's recent, they added something to the lore, right? It was the original genes didn't come from the Emperor, just from the Emperor. They had another one. They had the gene, part of the genes came from this woman. I'm not sure of her background or what she is. I think she's also a perpetual.
Mm-hmm. And that's someone who Dusky rants about a lot. Sorry about that. Sees the Emperor's wife, or she was the mother of the Primarchs, the Emperor's sons, his literal sons, not the Space Marines. Like,
was she really officially a wife?
I haven't read the story, so I wouldn't know. I'm only telling you from what I heard from person who actually read the book. But I think maybe not so much as wife, but more of I gave birth to his sons, something like that.
I think from some sources, I also haven't read the book, but from some sources, they make her out like she was just another noble which the Emperor needed, and so he made a deal with her. It was just all for business.
It was.
So they weren't really legit married.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, something like that.
Which would make sense if you look at the Emperor, right?
It's like, it wasn't like something done out of love. It's more like, I need generals. I need someone to lead my, legions. I need like immortal sons, demigods, basically. So I need someone with almost the same, power and, abilities like me. And I can't do that with a normal woman. It's more like, you are almost like me.
Yeah.
Something like that. And also, if I'm correct, we were having a few conversations about this from time to time. If I'm correct, the 40K faction that has your interest would be the Tau Empire, if I'm right?
Yes.
Yeah, so when it comes to the Tau, because I like the Tau too, they're probably one of my favorite factions in 40K. What makes them stand out to you when compared to all the other factions?
The most common one is that aesthetically, they're very different from everybody else. Obviously, a bit Japanese mecha inspired, and not entirely though. Not entirely. I see some Western influence on that, but the majority of it is really yells Japanese design.
Yeah, it was my initial thoughts when I saw the Tau for the first time in one of their codex covers. I was like, oh, these look very Japanese. Because the design of the armor, how they have like mech suits, it is very Japanese like, and that was the intent from Games Workshop. They wanted to bring in a wider audience, but they did it in the correct way. They created a new faction, and they gave them their own theme and aesthetic and lore. And because of that, they're very distinctive and pleasing, I think.
Yeah, and the community that they're gonna lure in, it's already there, right? People are into Gundam and the other Japanese mechs.
I would say so, but I don't think you have to be like a full-on weeb to like the Tau, because I wouldn't consider myself a mech fan or anime fan. It's like I was never really a fan of anime, but I do recognize it. And so with something like the Tau, it made me recognize, the whole themes and connections. But at the same time, I appreciate them for their own way, not because they look like a certain thing,
Mm. Yeah, fair, fair. I mean, like from a business standpoint, yeah, it's a good approach. That was a good approach.
Mhm.
Design them like that, like for the potential niche that they can attract. But yeah, you're right. It doesn't really matter if you're an anime fan to appreciate it. There's something about the design, like it looks sleeker, looks
Mhm.
mainstream. No, not mainstream. Sorry, streamlined. Looks
Like if we were to compare like their crisis suits, like their typical mech suit war machine to like say anything from the Imperium, their technology is very clean and slick. Yeah.
yeah, clean. It's a really pleasing amidst all the gothic style, gothic design of the Imperium and other factions.
Hmm.
That's aesthetic wise. In terms of lore, I like their lore. They're a really young race, and also the fact that they're the most comparable to real life human armies with their tactics.
Yeah, it's like it makes no sense to them to charge against the enemy line with chain swords and yelling "Rah, rah, for the Emperor."
Right.
It's like, why do that if I can just shoot them from far away?
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I got to reading their lore for the first time, it's like it was very interesting to learn about an alien empire that also consists of other aliens. So where it's not just Tau, but also there's Vespers and Kroots and all that, and also some humans have joined them too. Yeah, at the same time, they also have like this interesting, sinister side to them. That's not like full on in your face with the Imperium.
Yeah, it's a subtle approach. Like there's a political term for that. I forget. But yeah, they're real subtle with their influence. And I like that. I like that for character development. Like there's some beyond that facade that they have. They have a deeper, more opportunistic side to them. There's a it's not all for the good of not for the really for the greater good, or rather, how do they really define the greater good
It's like
behind
it's
everything that they've done?
Yeah, because like is the greater good literally for everyone, or is the greater good for the interests of the Tau?
Yeah,
Especially for the Ethereals. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I did a whole
Um,
video on that, giving my thoughts on the whole thing. Yeah, yeah. If you remember that, how I got you to quote one of the Tau war ambassadors.
yes.
Yeah, literally, it was literally I forgot his name, but he was a Soviet spy who gave a whole presentation to Western media about how the Soviet Union like influenced other countries into adopting, communism and all that. All that is to destabilize the nation, normalize the said destabilization, eventually get their own influence in the government, and getting rid of the people who initially helped them because they did too much and know too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually how the Tau Empire bring their influence to other worlds with the Imperium.
Not much different from the Imperium with their goals. I mean, it reminds me of the Thunder Warriors. But then again, the Thunder Warriors, the Emperor got rid of them because they were obsolete.
Um,
But
I wouldn't
hmm,
say. Well, I wouldn't say the Tau Empire were like the emperors. How he brought humanity into his empire, but the, it's not like the emperor got rid of the Thunder Warriors, like how the Ethereals eventually take full on influence over a planet. It's more of the Thunder Warriors, as you say, they were obsolete. Like they did
yeah,
break down, and when they break down, it's either violent spasms or their heads explode. Because these were very, very early Space Marines. And most of the time, Unification Wars, it wasn't meant to be like, it's not really a clean, unification of humanity. It's more like Earth is like torn apart by all these empires. I need strong fighters who are able to conquer quickly, and that's when the Thunder Warriors came in.
Mm.
But the problem with them is that wires are missing, not all the chemicals flow, and they compete, and they are basically like bestial men in armor of how they can be.
Yeah, the emperor just was kind of just desperate at that point.
It's like you can't really be picky when it comes to stuff like that, And when when you got better soldiers, eventually it was like, okay, Earth is now united. I no longer need Thunder Warriors. So yeah,
He could have just kept them in Terra, right? And make them work there, but it's not like they clash out and ask that, why are you not giving us jobs? Why are you not putting us out there in space? Maybe they would, since they are unstable.
well, that is the whole thing, is that they are very unstable. They're like wild dogs who've been, they are wild dogs who nature said no to them, where it's like you can't raise them properly or something like that. And with these Thunder Warriors, they are a ticking time bomb, and they are just too dangerous to be on their own, because they were meant to just conquer and kill quickly. And you can't. It's like you need to have some use for them outside of conquering Earth. Either you use them again for space, or you don't use them at all. And because he needs humanity to join the Imperium willingly, you can have something like that with Thunder Warriors. They're just really unstable.
Yeah, makes sense.
And
They're more like a band-aid. They weren't good for the long run.
Not at all, no.
So yeah, going back to the Tau. What do you think about what do you really think about the addition of the Far Side?
Yeah, so about that, the Farside Enclaves are a new thing. They were something around since the very beginning of the Tau, ever since they came in by 3rd edition. Farside and his Enclaves were there in day 1, and they still do the thing where, we're separatists from the Empire. Though, maybe I won't say recently, but it has been expanded upon about why Farside did this, why he may decide to break away from the Empire. Not because, we're going to be independent now, but more of there's a lot of sketchy things going on with the Ethereals. Like I learned from my master, do not trust them all. Do not trust all the Ethereals, Farside. And he's like, there's something going on here. They don't like me because I'm having really a lot of influence with the Fire Warriors, and they don't like that. They want the influence because they're the Ethereals.
Yeah. But I think one of the triggers of that happening was when they got separated for a time. So that means they got separated from the Ethereals, from the influence, for a bit of time, and then that was enough for him to realize those thoughts.
I won't say Farsight specifically especially before Farsight did his whole Damocles exhibition to take back formal, Tau converted worlds, is that he did had some, thoughts brewing in his mind that something might not be all there with the Ethereals. But, and because he was exposed to things like, chaos, what is the warp, what our demons are, something that the Ethereals themselves are probably either ignorant of, or they don't, tell the people specifically, try to keep them, the influence of chaos under the carpet, while they themselves have the full-on influence, saying there's nothing outside the galaxy besides us, the importance of the Ethereals. And so when he got to see Hell, this did kind of shake his faith with... But also because of his failures of protecting Ethereals during his exhibition, you can imagine that, I was to give command and give protection with these, holy people, and I failed them. So which led him to having this, again, crisis of faith, and to go on this like self-exile for a while. But because the Ethereals were no longer there with what's now called the Far Side Enclaves, like how I said in the video, I think with this whole separation for like so long, eventually the Tau people sort of, broke free of that influence, where it's like, well, we have this system now, but should we contact the Empire or do we have to? And because they didn't have to, they went well on their own. And the
Yeah.
Ethereals don't like this. They don't like the whole idea that a Tau society can exist without them. Which is why they say to the people of the mainland empire, do not contact the Tau of the far side enclaves. To us, they don't exist. Because they are an example of Tau society without Ethereals. And if Tau can run without the Ethereals, then what's the point of them? You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Yeah, they held their own for hundreds of years without the ethereals.
Exactly.
You would question yourself, "Oh, what are you here for again? What do we need you for?" You'd ask yourself that eventually. And to be fair, the ethereals were necessary during the prehistoric years of the Tau, right?
Mm-hmm.
For them to get all the advancements, the technology. But yeah, as time goes on, you wouldn't really need them. You've already progressed this far, and what they are good for is just their quote unquote mind control, their influence. That's it.
Which does begs also the question, is that could the Ethereals, like people say, there is some sense of brainwashing with the Tau Empire or with the Tau, because either it is full on mind control or maybe it's just because they have so much influence that to go against Ethereal would be basically like a hardcore Catholic going against the Pope. That's basically how the Tau see the Ethereals. So this is my question of, do the Ethereals have this much influence, this much control over Tau people that it is basically a religion to them? They don't believe in gods, they don't believe in a religion, but all of Tau society orbits around the Ethereals, because to them, they are basically priests. They are like popes.
The thought that would be possible, because just the thought of the greater good, that thought alone, that's enough to make people rally behind you. Like it's like the most moral thing, right?
Mhm.
Like you're fighting you're fighting for the undeniably most moral thing of all. You're the symbol of good in the universe.
In a chaotic universe of monsters and bigotry, our philosophy is for the good of everyone, of all
Yeah,
species.
exactly. They're sort of like up there in their high horse, and that those thoughts, though, that moral code, that's enough uh, for people who are like, especially the races who've experienced so much uh, so much death toll, so much hardship. The people they take in, the races that they take in, fighting for that code, for that for the greater good. Yeah, that would be enough.
It would be enough, yeah. But because of Farsight, because he's able, intentionally or not, able to show that Tau society can run without the Tau, and that the greater good doesn't need to include the Ethereals, that gives him a bad look. And if anything, I think this is probably the best way I can describe them to a friend of mine, is that to me, the Tau Empire is almost like Ba Sing Se from Avatar.
Yeah, yes.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I see the resemblance.
it's like they're not necessarily full on in your face evil, but like I said before, there is a subtle case of brainwashing. But heavy lore talk aside, I do want to bring this up because I return to this video a lot from your channel. Is your wannabe friends video?
Oh,
Yeah, Every time I paint, I always go back to that video because I like it so much, and I just find it really cool that you're able to turn a, you know, what is a YouTube hacker into a pretty, cool creepypasta animation.
Yeah, around that time, uh, I was thinking of uh, my own creepypastas. I wrote a few. I posted a few on in Reddit. Yeah, and I just use whatever's around me, whatever thing I come across with. I wanted to create something original apart from the concept of a Slender Man or another. Who's that? Who's that other guy who was so popular? The the guy who got bullied. I forget his name. Yeah, that guy who also got oversaturated with all the fanfics and fan arts. But the point is, yeah, I wanted to do something that's not really in the mainstream or mainstream concept of monsters. So I came across that bot who keeps commenting in YouTube. And then yeah, stuff like those stuff like those inspire me, like taking something and then twisting it and putting some horrific mix into it.
Yeah, how many comments did you get from that guy? Like, was it in every single video that he sends those comments on?
Yeah, there was a time that every single video I watched, I see him in the comments.
Yeah, and as soon as I post a video, I would quickly get a comment, and I knew it was a bot, so I didn't communicate, contact, because if you did contact or clicked on the comment to view his channel, then that's how the bot hacks you.
Yeah. Don't even reply.
Yeah,
Like
just
reply on comment section. Don't.
yeah, it's like block and delete.
Mm. He'll create another channel anyways. Yeah. Yeah, but just keep blocking it. I think it's probably some, I don't know. I feel like these bots, especially the ones lately, I have a feeling like this is me going into conspiracy mode. Sorry, if that's okay in your podcast.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, like these are all test beds for me. They look experimental because they wouldn't really gain anything in the long run. Like the amount of people who would click on it, and if it ever it's a scam for some credit card phishing or malware, mm, people are aware of those already.
But
But the bots coming, they just keep the hackers keep producing them. I feel like this is for something else entirely.
I think
Yeah.
with this guy, with this man specifically, and for those who don't know, if you don't know this person specifically, is that there was this YouTuber who yeah, he did create a bot system where they would go to people's latest videos and they would comment, want to be friends. And even if you didn't comment and if you commented or give a thumbs up or even view the guy's channel, he would hack your channel so that you can be a subscriber to him so very quickly. And I think this is the important thing, is that this was done in a few days, but in a few days, he was able to get millions of subs or perhaps even just 1,000. And his videos would get thousands and millions of views. But then people would comment, wait, how do you have like 100,000 views but have no thumbs up or thumbs down? So obviously something's going up, because these aren't actual views from humans. This is just all bots working with each other to help the guy out. And very
and
quick.
that was
And,
a successful hack.
oh, so sorry. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. That was a successful hack.
It
I
was.
believe, yeah, he managed to get his goal, even though yeah, eventually he'd be found out.
And which he did.
Yeah, it's obvious, but that fact alone, like I said, I feel like he's testing it out for something that he he proved that this was impossible. But again, what would he gain in the long run, right?
Well, some people are just wanting to be desperate to have influence, especially in something like YouTube, that it doesn't
Yeah.
matter to them that if it's like, cheating or that's a pathetic way of doing it. He wants the influence. He wants like the recognition.
The attention.
Which leads me into like the character of the video, because it's not necessarily based on the person, but his actions and what he has done. Because the person he made in the video, an original character, he really wanted to become a YouTuber. He wanted to become famous. But
Yeah.
however, he soon realized that YouTubing's not easy. And he only got like 24 subs when he started. And most of those subs are him because of he was begging people to subscribe to him, but they weren't watching his videos.
Yeah, that's that part was also, well, that's inspired by a lot of creators I've seen. Like I've actually seen people resort to, they didn't do anything illegal or they didn't do anything immoral, but uh they're like they're, how do you say this? They're trying too hard to please a certain audience
Mhm.
that really didn't like their content. It's like and that's a normal thing that me, I wouldn't give up easily over something. But you have to get to the point that to see that this isn't working. And unfortunately, I've seen a few YouTubers back then like that who ended up not they're all gone. They're all gone today. Like they didn't go too far because they focused too much on the on certain part of the audience that they think would lift their channel, but yeah, it really didn't work out. So yeah, and some of them end up begging too much. They end up some even became vitriolic over the community. Yeah, so that sort of inspired me for the main character of that story.
And from a looked like is that, because what job would you say he worked at before he tried doing YouTube?
That part, I didn't really think of that part.
Yeah, because my initial impression was like customer service, because that looks like a hell job. Because I saw one video where it's like the guy is customer service and he doesn't like the heckling from people, but it pays good money. So I imagined it'd be the same kind of thing for the character.
Yeah, potentially. And it would make sense. Being in a customer service, it gives you that experience of talking all day, right?
Yeah,
You're going to do that, and so you'd be perfect to be a YouTuber.
yeah, but then he quickly realized that, oh, YouTube means not easy. I thought if I were to just play video games all day, people would subscribe to me. But
Yeah,
why I find pretty funny is that when he eventually does go through hacking, and when people actually watch his videos, they realize, oh, this guy's very amateurish. He's playing like these really big titled games. He will have like scariest game in the world in his title, and it'll be a thing like monster shoots, then he screams. It's like, that's not how it works, dude. You're supposed to scream and shoot. You don't shoot
yeah,
then do the reaction.
yeah. I also remember there was that the his playthrough part
Yeah.
where someone was watching, and that guy watching just rolled his eyes because
Yeah, exactly. Because like, oh god.
I get that kind of reaction with some videos. That's why I put it in there. Um, but I won't say specifically who, but those type of creators, it's really obvious that they do the scream just because they act like they're surprised, they act like they're jump scared, and it's pretty obvious that it's all scripted, and they just do it because that's what the audience reacts to the most. And a lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of people don't really see the difference between something real, authentic, or something scripted. Yeah. So yeah, I thought of putting it in there. And his face when he makes the jump scared reaction.
Yeah, like oh, I can just
The
imagine that's what it looks. I can imagine that sound.
sarcasm.
Yeah, but what I think would have been brilliant, especially for the time, is that if he was playing like a Friday Nights at Phrase game, I think that would have been like the perfect connection.
I need to make a part 2 of that. That's centered around playthrough, centered around playthroughs with that, with those kinds of creators who do that stuff. I need to make a part 2.
Or yeah, but if I did like live streaming like years ago when I played the first game of BioShock, like I did had an initial, jump scare scream. It's like, oh, holy shit, because that actually scared me. Like that's a genuine reaction to the game. And I
Yeah.
think that would have, brought realism in say video form because like, oh, this guy actually got scared in this game scene. It's not like something out of theater,
Yeah, not faking it for the reactions.
Or it's like, say, playing any Dark Souls game, if a person keeps dying, he does have the genuine reaction of, freaking out. That's, damn it. Because I had like really bad reactions to one of the boss fights in Bloodborne, where it's like, boy, serious. It's like,
If it's a Souls game, yeah, I'd believe that 90% of the time it's authentic if it's a Souls game.
yeah, because it is literally frustrating. It's not like, whoops, Mario misses jumped. Oh, I'm so angry. It's not like that. But I want to bring this up because I guess I'm also interested in the monster in that said video. Is that when he goes on with his hacking and when he's about to reach 1 million subs, this is when the monster, wire monster, or let's call it virus monster, he was literally born in his PC, grabs him, started absorbing him. That part, I didn't actually expect that. I didn't expect that to happen. So that was like my initial reaction, like, oh, holy shit.
Nice.
Like that was a general reaction from me.
The jump scare worked. Nice.
Yeah, it did work because it was something unexpected and it was so sudden and so subtly that it's like, oh, whoa, this is big. This is extreme. Especially him, screams like, oh, I'm in pain because the monster is absorbing him, and you see like flashes, and it's like, oh, this looks really painful.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no there's no blood and there's no gore, but you do see the pain in it.
Yeah, that's what I took a bit more time with animating that part, and I was actually scared that YouTube would flag me for that. That's why there's no blood. There was supposed to be blood. There's, in fact, a version with blood. I'd send it to you sometime. I'll just have to find it in my my dumpster of a file bin here. But yeah, I have a version with blood, but I have to take it off because YouTube. But I with the way he reacted with being stabbed in the foot and being grabbed in the face, yeah, I took a bit of time there. I wanted to really show how visceral it was.
It's like, especially in that one scene where it's like it flashes and you can see his nerves.
Oh yeah, nice. Thanks for noticing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, that does look painful, and you can see something's going on with his body, or it looks like the monster's doing something with his body. And it's like I said, even without the gore, it does look painful, and you do feel the audience can feel the pain in that,
Mm-hmm.
And
I forgot where I was picked up that style. I think it was some 90s anime. I saw it like twice. That technique of if you want to show pain, you show flashes of person's innards, their veins, their bones, something like that.
Yeah,
So yeah.
almost like in Mortal Kombat, something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
Yeah, and I guess also another thing that scared me, like genuinely scared me, was that when the PC broke and it prevented him from turning off his computer. Well, first the monster stops him from clicking out of the program, and then the PC breaks apart, and you see this creature, coming out of the PC in full wires. I was going to say flesh because that was my initial thoughts. This is a flesh monster. But no, it looks like he, absorbed the computer and became a living thing out of it.
Yeah, it could be flesh, could be wires. Yeah, I mean the graphic kind of looks like it, but yeah, initially it was a bunch of wires, like organic style of wires,
Mm-hmm.
and that's some that's one of those like creative creative bursts that I get. Like you look at something and then you suddenly get an idea over that mundane thing. For me, for that video, since it was a theme of hacking, and then PC. Of course, there's a PC, and then I looked at my PC. I was thinking of ideas. I looked at my PC, and wouldn't it be scary if you, especially for those out there who like to tinker with their PC Master Race, shout out.
Hmm.
Yeah, so those who want to those who like to tinker and assemble their own PCs, like what would you do if one day you just opened up your PC and saw a bunch of pulsating innards inside of your PC? Like, yeah, creative outbursts like that. I get those once in a while. And that's what I used for this video.
Yeah, and especially when the creature, like, I really love the design of it, especially when he looks at him with a flat face smile. It's like, hi, want to be friends? It's acting like a robot, but you can almost see the intelligence in his eyes. Especially like when he's like bringing him closer to his face, like, want to be friends, want to be friends.
Yeah, even that freaked me out. Yeah.
Yeah. The line too does bring in the fear factor, or it does bring the scene an eeriness to it, without the need of gore, without the need of so much violence.
Yeah. Again, going back to YouTube's guidelines, what forced me to take out the blood and some of the gore. You have to think of something to replace that stuff.
Mhm.
So you have to adapt. Yeah, so you have to think of other techniques, other ways. And in fact, for other creators out there listening, just in case, well, if you want to do horror stuff without too much gore, try looking at old works from the 90s. Oh, not sorry. 90s are probably bad stuff to point to because of it was a gore fest back then. Some stuff before 1985, classic stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
from classic horror directors. They mainly focused with the ambience or the cinematography to inject the horror factor. So they didn't rely much on gore back in the day.
And
So I advise to reference those stuff.
yeah, and it certainly worked for you. It's like it worked for you when you made the video because, yeah, it was so obvious that you knew what you were doing, or you had an idea of what you were doing, and yeah, it worked. It paid off.
Thanks. I'm glad it worked.
And I guess I just want to say one thing is that this happened a bit later. when I was going back to the video, said, I think wouldn't it be tragic that he was about to reach 1 million views or 1 million subscribers, and his girlfriend comes in. I think it would be or at least to me, at the far background, maybe the computer would say your YouTube channel has been suspended. Because I was thinking YouTube or their version of YouTube quickly caught on that he's the hacker and he suspends his channel before he reaches 1 million views or 1 million subscribers. So
yeah, that would be more poetic.
yeah, I think that would be, poetic justice and also a tragic end, because he still got possessed by his monster and all of that was for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But even without that, it's like you still told what you wanted to tell, and the ending of it was really something touching for the video. It was a good ending. Or okay, it's not good of what happened to him, but it's a good ending to a story.
I think that part, the ending, was kind of a classic horror ending, classic bad ending, where a girl comes in and gets killed, and the ending is just sinister.
It's almost like a weird Tales sort of story, like in their comics.
Yes. Yeah.
Or something like Tales from the Crypt, yeah.
Or Tales of the Crypt, yeah. I wanted to play into that. It's a bit campy, yeah, but it's like a homage to those media.
I wouldn't even call it campy or I didn't see it as campy. I was like, oh, this is tense. Like, I literally felt that when I was watching the ending. It's like, oh, holy shit. That just happened. So yeah, you can call me a fan of your content and call me a fan of how you did that video, because I think it was just so well made.
Yes. Thanks.
Yeah,
Well,
but
fortunately, like I said, I'd be stepping away from the horror for now, but the channel's still up. I'm not gonna take it down.
Mhm.
Although I do need to make an official statement on some of my social media, just in case for people who are expecting new content. Because unfortunately, I have to prioritize some stuff. But I still want to do the channel. This channel is my baby, and I just want to do it right, and I want the necessary resources for me to continue it. Because right now it's really hard. It's hard to put my stuff out there with all the situation of the horror animation here in YouTube, and the situation of animation in YouTube overall.
Mhm.
It's a tricky thing to traverse through.
And even though it's unfortunate that you might not be doing those kind of stuff anymore, I did enjoy the stuff yet that you were able to create. It's like, at least
Thanks.
to me, it's like, even though you're stepping away, I still enjoyed the stuff that you did, and I'm looking forward to stuff you're going to be doing in the future.
Oh, thanks. Some people actually said the same. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for the support.
Mhm. But with that, there's actually some questions people have asked us, if you're fine with me asking you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sure thing. So here's one of them. You are given the chance to write a horror story set in the universe of 40K. What would it be about?
I have a lot of ideas. Okay. Actually, I've already been spoiled to one. I thought it was an original idea, but no, that's a stupid thing to think about. That any idea for 40K would be original. A lot of people have already done it, but I've heard about this story. Like, it's psychological horror. It's more about the psychological horror of that the main character, the protagonist, rather than uh moving around the. It still involves the lore, but it wasn't about a war or a big battle or an epic encounter, guns a blazing. It's more of a psychological horror about uh, this inquisitor who was doing a case, and then in the end he discovered that he was long retired and everything was in his head, and literally in his head, because there was a like a parasite burrowing in his head.
Oh, is this an actual story?
It's a fan made story, but it had great reception
Oh,
because it was really well written, and again it focused more on psychological horror. I want to be able to write something like that one day. Like I use the universe, use all the lore, the universe, but focus on something that's unconventional.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think something like that would definitely work. And I don't see why not. Why you're not allowed to be inspired by that set story, even if it's a fan made one. It's like you can use a similar idea. Like artists are influenced by other artists.
Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot of fan made works that are really popping out and getting 5 stars.
If I were to write a sort of horror story, then mine would be focused on Zinch, the chaos god of change.
Why?
Well, I mean, if you don't know who Zinch is, it's the chaos god of magic, change, and fate.
Mhm.
But in my story, and this is influenced by the works of Junji Uro, if that's how you say his name, the manga artist.
I'm not actually sure, Ito or Uto. I'm not sure. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, but you know who I mean.
Yeah.
It's like I had this idea that, and this is sort of inspired by one of his stories, is that there's this world and it's getting influenced by chaos, but it's not like the typical, chaos cultists are rising, chaos space marines are dropping down in spiked armor. What I was thinking is that there's this character who's experiencing change. He's experiencing the world changing around him. His mind is changing and his body is changing. And one of the points I want to come across is that because of Zinch, he is the god of change, but change has no limits, and a lot of times there's no subtlety. And so because so much things are changing, it's scary for him. Literally, he's losing his mind. He doesn't know if his thoughts are his anymore. And he knows that the environment's changing into impossible ways and that his body is mutating. It's changing into ways that goes beyond horrific. It almost looks impossible. And that's what the point I want to come across is that when it comes to Zinch, nothing's impossible. There's no limit to him. Exactly. And this leads to the point of chaos is that they warp you, which is the name of their domain, the warp. Because the whole point of chaos gods to me is that when it comes to them and their influence on humanity, they don't want rule, they want to warp it, to warp how they see the universe. And with something like Zinch, it does go into the realm of body horror and mind horror.
Yeah, I'm from that idea. That's actually brilliant. From that idea, I'm like imagining like a planetary level of Junji Ito body horror.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds awesome. And I like the way how how they say Zinch is a god of change. Like from that phrase, god of change. There's so much to think about, and like there's so many ways to interpret that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily something scary or insidious, like, but again, change, like you said, it's limitless. It can be anything, and
And
that's the stuff about it.
eventually all things do change, yes, except with Zinch, he does go with the extreme. It's like change is inevitable, but he really pushes on what can change.
Mhm.
And that does enter like sort of the realm of horror with him. Even if it's not physical, sometimes it's mental.
Yeah. And the thing about him is he also does it for the kicks, right?
hmm It's like there is no ultimate grand plan that he has. He has all these little fates and plans that he wants to do because it is entertaining for him. If he were to have like some ultimate grand plan that might end the universe or something like that, then there's nothing else he would do. It's like he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to end humanity. He wants to do all these plots and do all these little schemes, but he doesn't want to end it all. There's no ultimate grand plan for him.
If you end it, then there's not going to be any change at all, right?
Hmm?
If you end something, then there's not going to be any change,
Exactly.
right?
It's like even if thing goes against him, it doesn't matter. It's still change
Mhm.
because it is sort of tells that Zinch is also insane, or at least in the eyes of humans. But anyways, going on with these questions and all that,
Yeah.
which are your seminal horror classics? So I'm guessing like a horror classic that's like of importance to you, a book, a movie, a legend, and or a creepypasta if you want. So I guess what he's trying to say is that is there like a creepy story, or in this case, creepypasta, a monster that has really stuck with you?
In popular media, I guess I can't really think of it as something that I can't think of any popular movies that really stuck to me. I guess classic influences, the usual, The Shining.
Mhm.
But one movie that stuck to me was this movie. It was it? Oh God, that is embarrassing. I forgot if it's Italian or French. But anyways, the Italians create great movies. Yeah, the Italians are masters of ambience.
Mhm.
And there's this one movie called. Wait, sorry. I need to. Pardon me. I need to Google search if it's Italian or not. God, this is embarrassing.
No
But
problem, no problem.
wait. So yeah, for classic stuff, it's definitely The Shining. Because that's psychological. It also uh focused on the ambience, and also the concept of it is being alone, isolated somewhere, which is hello, the pandemic.
Mhm.
uh, and even before that, like it's an underrated fear for people, or it's actually a fear that you don't realize until you've gone too far, like being isolated somewhere, being alone, not being able to talk to anybody, and being able to do a limited amount of stuff. The movie centers around that thought. That's why I liked it. For any recent stuff, there's this movie called this is the yeah, I can see if it's Italian or not, but it's entitled Ravenous. It's a 2017 film.
Hmm.
This also screams ambience, and there's a lot of uh, action, interesting stuff, uh, interesting shots, and very minimal dialogues. But the feel of the environment is there. It's your usual post-apocalypse zombie-ridden scenario, but they portray the creepiness really good.
Exactly.
I'd actually recommend it. It's not very popular, but it's great. It's Ravenous. That's the title, Ravenous. It's on Netflix.
And
Yeah.
I guess for me, I'm saying this because it's on top of my head, and maybe it's not because of the film itself, but because of the idea of the film, and that is Blair Witch Project. If you know what that is.
Yes, yes, of course. Another classic. Yeah.
So I don't find it necessarily a scary film, like, and I don't watch it that often, and maybe I won't watch it for a long while because I've seen it once. But I listened to this like fan theory of the film is that there was never a witch, and that it was just the two boys doing all this to scare the main character so that they could eventually kill her.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of evidence going with this is that there's a lot of impossibilities for the witch to do, and why would she do all this? But actually, it was not because of the witch. It was just a big plan for the boys to kill her and for them to run away. Or how do I say this? I guess the whole point of what I'm trying to say is that it's not the film itself, and it's not like the mythology of the film of the Blair Witch, but more of the main characters dragging this main character along in this journey, pretending to be lost, and which makes you say, if they really are lost, how come they're the ones leading the way, even though she has the map and the experience?
Hmm.
But the whole point was that they didn't want to get out. They want to play. They want to play out being lost, scare the character for a little while, eventually get rid of like the map, get rid of the compass, and when eventually come across those twigs in the trees looking like the Blair Witch symbol, well, they're nothing special. They're not levitating. They're just strings attached to trees. Something anybody could create. And there's really nothing stopping the boys from creating it themselves. They only did that because they know it would scare the character.
Yeah. If you think about it, like it's all possible. If you look past the main plot and
Mhm.
just if you look at the environment and the stuff you analyze the stuff that they've been doing, yeah, it's logical.
Yeah, especially when they get to the house scene. It's like, why would he charge into the house saying, I'm going upstairs?
Yeah.
It's like he's only saying that to tell to the main character, I'm going upstairs. He stays there for a while till he comes up. Then he goes, now I hear him in the basement. But it's like, wait, how can you confuse the basement for the upper stairs? And it's like, so he rushes downstairs, goes to the basement where I suspect the other person is. Then he pretends to drop the camera, thinking the Blair Witch got him. And so when C comes down and sees him standing in the corner, C then gets killed. But it's like, why would the witch kill that one character, possess his body, go to the corner, wait for the girl to come down, then kill her after leaving his body? It's like, what sense does that make? But since is that there was no witch there, the other person was just behind that main character, while the first guy stood at the corner and waiting for her to get there, to scream and freak out.
We've set it up freehand, and that was the first time they saw the house, right? And then he immediately says, "I'm going upstairs."
Yeah, it was the first time they saw the house. It's like, how do you know where everything is, dude? So it's not really so much a monster film. It is a mystery film, if you really study it.
Yeah, that underlying plot
Mhm.
behind the main storyline. Yeah, it's actually fun to do. Actually fun to dissect the films like that.
Yeah, and I got all this from like, this is probably going to upset some people, but from a film theory video when he was making the same observations.
Mhm.
And I think it's because of that makes the film more scary to me. Where again, I wasn't really scared of the film, but it's more like what the themes of the film and the points of the film is that there was
Well,
never a witch.
yeah. What could have been the true reason, like the possibilities?
Mhm.
Yeah, the same thing. Why I like open-ended films.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not really a real conclusion on what happened to the protagonist. You can't even tell if it's a good or bad ending. It's all up to you to your own interpretation.
Exactly, exactly. And I think I'll just ask you one last question because we are running late on this on the podcast, right? But I'll just ask you one last question.
Okay.
So, thoughts on the Iron Hands, which is a Space Marine chapter, just to be clarify.
Mhm.
And what is your favorite Warhammer fantasy faction? So
I'll go.
the person
Uh,
asking is like an Iron Hands fan, so of course you'll ask that. You know.
as for I'll go for the fantasy factions first. My apologies. I haven't really had much to see in the, or at least remember something about the any fantasy factions. Honestly, I don't know which is like. Does this involve any faction from any race, or just the just a chapter from the Marines? Because honestly, I don't know what's fantasy, fan made, or official. Because I see a lot of them around, and I cannot distinguish which is fan made anymore. So I'll go for the as for the Iron Hands. The Iron Hands, I think that's metal as fuck. Nah,
Yeah,
nah, nah.
I was
I did-
initially. I thought they were cool when I was getting to 40K too. Yeah, because it's like cyborg space marines. It's like that's really that does sound really cool.
and just the origin of how their Primarch got the Iron Hands. Yeah, that's pretty metal. And they're the come on Tech Marines. So they're the most flexible Marines in my opinion.
Mhm.
Uh, and they just the thought of a big hulking armored dude. That's if that's not worse than just imagine like multiple mechanical limbs just popping out of his body, out of his shoulders, each of those holding a gun.
It's like that in itself is like body horror. It's like all this mechanical bits coming out of him.
Yeah, but I need to read up more because I want to be able to read a story of one in a really epic battle scene where he gets to utilize all of his tech gear along with his default marine capabilities.
Mhm.
If you have any suggestions for me.
I I myself don't know any such books. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, because well, that's my thought about the Iron Hands. I think they're one of the coolest chapters.
And I already gave my impression on the Iron Hands or told my perspective on it. But when it comes to fantasy, so I'm I don't have so much exposure with fantasy because I didn't stick with it as long as other players have because I know 40K more. But because by the time I was getting into fantasy, it was dying out. It was retiring. But from what I knew of it at the time and what I know of it now, getting more exposure to it, is that I would say probably one of my favorite factions in Warhammer Fantasy would be the Bretonians. Because their whole idea is that they are knights with a round table. They're the classical French knights and very colorful armor, very colorful banners and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they're not the most creative, like they have, their version of the Lady of the Lake and the Green Knight, and they use the exact same words. Like they use Lady of the Lake and Green Knight with no subtlety. Like they are those characters from the real world. But their presentation of being these very colorful knights and just classic early medieval knights is that compared to like say the Empire and Kislev, these guys are the most colorful. And I think that's what makes them so appealing to me is because they are bright and colorful. They are the classical medieval knights, and that's something I really liked about them.
I have to see what's their name again. Sorry, I need to Google that.
Sure thing. They're called Bretonians, which is BRETONNIA.
Okay, I just wanted to see what their design is. I can imagine they're colorful, like you said, but their actual design, I want to see. Yeah, classical medieval.
Mhm.
Very medievally accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
one of that is one of the charms of Warhammer Fantasy is that it is a fantastical setting, but they're very heavily influenced by history.
Yeah.
So with
And
these guys, with these guys, they are like the very early medieval knights.
mhm. And this is a more to my liking as opposed to modern, overly edgy, over the top, curvy designs with lots of complicated patterns.
Yeah, like
I,
it's like these aren't like berserk style like knights or anything like that. These guys are like, surcoats. Here's our colorful banner. Our horses are dressed colorfully. I really like that. It's like it tells so much about the character without him, telling about himself. If that makes sense.
yeah, I guess.
But with that, I think we've reached the end of the show. Is there anything you would like to say before we call it in?
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for having me here, Jarvis. I really appreciate it. And if you want to go check out my channel, it's Ram Muerto Animations. It's here on YouTube. But again, unfortunately, I'll be shifting to other priorities for now because essentially I want to be able to continue Ram Muerto with the proper funding, at the proper time, and with a clear window of exposure. Because right now, uh, the animation setting in YouTube is um, it's a whole can of worms in by itself. And all I can say is it's really making it hard for me and other animators to put our stuff out there, out
Mhm.
of the community, to be exposed to more potential viewers. So yeah, but don't worry. Sometime along the way, I'd love to go back to it. But for now, I have to step back for a while.
Mhm.
But you can still enjoy whatever video I've produced. Again, that's Ram Muerto Animations. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to have your channel in the description.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
And thank you so much for coming onto the show, man. It's been a long time.
It was. Thank you for having me. I really needed this. I really needed to. Finally, this is my first podcast guesting, and for the love of God, I needed to talk to someone.
And I need to talk to and I need to talk to someone too, and I'm glad it was you.
Likewise, likewise.
But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all again next time. Have a good one, guys.